Okay. Assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Welcome to our AI program, inshallah ta'ala. Yeah, we are going to connect there as well. So this today, Brother Arpit is going to, inshallah, present the entrepreneurship presentation. And with him, we have a very good agenda. We are actually today's program is going to be for 2 hours, inshallah, 5:30 to 7:30. We have Arpit Bhai doing the presentation, then Mansoor Bhai and Laiq Bhai is doing the funding and also on the panel discussion, inshallah ta'ala. With that, I request Arpit Bhai to start.
Yes, so MCC, right? We started a program of just educating community around AI, how you use AI, what are the potential things that you can do, how to build with AI. So in that spirit, we have a series of sessions. So today's session, we are actually going to do it for entrepreneurs who has idea and they want to do something with it. So what are the key steps when you start thinking about doing your own startup? What are the key areas that you should be focused on? So one of the topic is product market fit. How do you find product market fit? What is the product market fit? So with that, actually, I'm going to just start talking about it, and consider this as an open-ended. We have slides to talk through like a point of view, but more than happy to address any question or concerns. And with that, we'll just begin. Just give me 1 second. Keyboard wala keyboard. Sorry? Clicker won't work. Hold on. Yeah, once. Maybe the Wi-Fi is connection slow, or see there. This one. Keyboard is stuck. So अच्छा हाँ so what is product market fit? I mean, anyone wants to take a guess? Okay, so product market fit is like a moment where product is successfully meeting demand of the target market, resulting into stronger user engagement and satisfaction. So generally, right, when you build something, it has to be like something that customer wants. A lot of time, what mistake that people do is they have built something, and then they push for it and saying like, look, I built it, now you should use it, versus understanding what user needs and building something. So then there are stronger pull towards the product. Generally, in absence of product market fit, most of the startup generally fails. So around like, why startup fails, it's not because they had a wrong idea, but they ended up building something that nobody wanted. So as per the study, right, around 42% of the startups generally fails due to lack of demand. And lack of demand is, there is a one important step that you want every entrepreneur to do, that is like, study your customer and do a proper research, because you end up building a product that nobody actually wants. There are like, a lot of great examples out of it. While growing up, I used to study one thing like, the Russian astronaut versus American astronaut. American astronauts actually ended up building a pen that can write in a space, versus Russian astronauts actually ended up using the pencil. There's billions of dollars that got invested in writing a pen, innovating a pen, which nobody wants. You can actually do it with the pencil. So this is something that, another example of, you can, when you do a push versus pull, that's another example. Generally, what happens is, anything that you do, when you have a fantastic idea, the market research is one of the most important steps. Many entrepreneurs actually skip this step. And the research is something that you want founders or the entrepreneurs to do it on by themselves. Like, don't rely on, okay, I'm going to pay someone or third party agency who will go and do the survey, do the user interview and give me the finding. That's like a recipe for disaster. Like, market research is something that should have been done by founder or entrepreneur or whoever is actually driving it. The other thing is, startups actually oftentimes misjudge their target audience. So when you have an idea or when you are working on a problem, right, one of the most important thing is like understanding the customer profile. Like who if it is a B2B startup idea, let's say in a field of AI you are trying to do something. So who is your target audience? Is it software engineer? Is it a data scientist? Which persona? And understand that. Otherwise, what happens is companies end up doing lot more promotional marketing campaign and other thing, but you are doing it to acquire a customer who is not your intended user. So that's another step that happens. So keep in mind, like, if you look across any startups that has failed, you will see these are the common theme. Like, they failed to understand the customer. There was no research done, or they had an amazing product, but they were actually going after a wrong audience, and they ran out of money. The general, right? What are the sources of idea, right? When do you get the inspiration of doing thing, right? So number one is frustration as an opportunity, and I'll give you a very simple example. If I give you a vitamin and say, like, look, take this vitamin and you'll improve your health by 5%, or it's good for your health. Or if you are in a pain and then there is a medicine, I can guarantee you are more inclined to taking like a pain medicine because it's a painkiller versus vitamin. So lot of time, right, this frustration is your opportunity to gauge, like, how, like, what are the gaps. Generally that frustration presents actually gaps in the market, and that your product can actually fill in. The other one is like turning hobbies into startups. So a lot of time, right, like not only like a B2B, but a lot of time even in a B2C, people actually, the amazing ideas are coming out of their hobbies, saying, okay, this was my hobby, then I studied, and a lot of other people actually needed the same solution, and that hobby can become turn into startup. And not only limited to education, but a lot of time, right, innovation can happen in multiple phases. So you identify the pattern. So for example, in field of AI right now, the AI deployment or AI model training or platform that can allow you to do the experimentation, those are the great ideas. So anytime when you look at what are the industry trend, and you will see the changes in patterns in which how users are interacting with other products, and what are the challenges that they are facing, and those challenges turns into learning and then the engagement. So that's another way where you can do it, and capitalize on the trends, like what are the key trends that are going on, and there are a lot of shift, at least especially in today's world. There are a lot of shifts that are going on. There are cultural shift. There are there are technological advancement that actually lays solid foundation for a new startup. So think of it. Who would have thought? The AI agent, right? So there's a knowledge agent that can actually do a job of a support agent, or there are, we have a few friends who are actually doing the AI agent for the chip design, saying like, look, there are a lot of inefficiencies around the chip design, and that can be done through the AI agent. A lot of time, people are doing how do you do the successful AI experimentation and use LLM as a judge to do it, and there are a ton of startups on that. So generally, when you are doing something, when you understand the customer pain, when you understand what are the frustrations that customers have or practitioner has, those gives you the idea and an opportunity where you can do more, and when you have it, capitalize on those trends. So what is PM, what are the key components when we say you have product market fit or you don't have a product market fit? What are the key components? So we'll walk you through each component of it, and that will give you a solid lead on when you have an idea, how do you go, what is the framework that generally works, and how do you go about it? So everything starts with customer, and the first one is who is your ideal customer? Like when you write something, build something, right? What is the first question? Who will buy it? Who's going? Should I pause? I think that side is not clear, so I'll pause it for 1 minute. We have time. Okay. Okay. So the first thing is who's your, when you have an amazing idea, just ask yourself innocent question, and this is the time where the asking question is more important, because that will lead to a solid hypothesis. So first is who is your ideal customer, and do you understand that customer's need? Once you do that, right, then what is the problem that you are trying to solve for? Just basic playbook of, who has money, that's a customer. Who will pay for it, that's a customer. What are you trying to solve for it? What is the problem statement? And this one, right, when you have an idea, I want you to pause and see, what is the unique value that your solution can provide that addresses customer's problem, because without value, nobody will come back and pay for it. Then what are the key feature that and this shouldn't be the list of 100 or 200 feature. This is in a journey, right? What you are looking for is couple of pain area that you can solve, and you can solve better than anyone else. And then this one is most important one. It's UX. What is your user experience? And that actually is through UX you can actually measure customer satisfaction as well as the engagement to the product. And the once PMF is achieved, like, you know, how do you repeat it now to and implement strategies where you can actually do a rocket ship kind of a growth. So you know, when you have an idea, when you take the first step, right? The first is like, you know, what is your deep? You have to do the deeper user research, and conducting research is the critical step. Remember, like, you know, previously I was saying, like, you know, 42% of the startup fails because it misses out the key element of you know, user research and learn from it. So generally, right, here is not the final one, but this is like a one of the way where we recommend doing at least I recommend doing the user research. If it is B2C, define the customer demographic. Otherwise, you know, that's fine. Just identify which job role is your customer, and what's the role. What is how is your buyer looking like? Yeah. Then identify the pain point. Like, you know, what is the pain point that we are trying to what are the pain point that you are trying to solve for? And then exploring, this is the most important one, like, you know, explore, if you have an idea, what are the alternatives, like, you know, what is your competitor doing? Because think of it, I'll give you the example. When TikTok came out, right, TikTok identified a very unique trend. Users don't have enough time to watch the full video. So there are like a smaller clips, and their engagement was fantastic. But if you when TikTok came out, nobody was doing it. Now if you see YouTube Shorts, Facebook Shorts, and all of them, right, then went to the shorter content. So keeping an eye on if you are a business, established business, and someone new comes in, that's okay. There's no shame in taking inspiration and giving it to customer what they want. But keeping the competitive offering is a key thing. Then to keep yourself honest, right? What are the success metric? Like when you as a business is doing fantastic job, what are the key metrics that you should be paying attention to in order to determine like whether you are going on a right track or wrong? And recognizing critical moments in your product. On that, right, you can actually build up a stronger platform. So generally, when you do the user research, ask about, like, you know, how user behaved in the past, and keep it like a open-ended question. So when you do a user research, so I'll give you a very good example. I was talking to Zahir Bhai on the AI hackathon idea, and he gave me one example where he was in Utah, and one of the khatib, like he forgot to, Zahir Bhai already had a calendar invite, but he forgot to see it, and he was not there. And I was saying, like, look, talk to Ali Bhai. He can actually build you the entire automation. Would that automation be helpful? But in this, right, the problem extraction was like, Zahir Bhai wanted a system which can actually send a notification to people. I shouldn't be leading with the solution, but just try to identify a key moment. So a lot of time, right, even in a enterprise world, right, when you look at it, there are different departments where you generally, IT is the department who has the biggest budget. You try to identify frustration that those users have, and how do you convert that into a viable thing, and don't jump to the conclusion, or don't even share like, oh, this is what some other company is facing. Maybe your problem is similar to that. This is like, literally intel collection, and you are trying to learn from it. Avoid asking a leading question. In my example or my interaction with Zahir Bhai, my leading question would be, Zahir Bhai, you don't have a way to notify the khatibs, or anytime when you are inviting guest lecturer, you don't have any other way to do it. and I actually build a product, why don't you buy for it? Versus, the lead, avoiding the leading question, you generally ask like, look, how's your day to day? What are the challenges? And then the discovery happens. This is the main reason why I don't want any market research firm to come and say like, look, I'll do the ready-made market research, and you just act on it. Those are the things that's a unique journey of a founder, and every founder or entrepreneur should actually do the journey by identifying question. A lot of time, right, in a B2C startup, it's even brutal. Like, I've seen founders on street trying to stop a user and ask questions, saying, hey, what are the problems, and learn, and then do the promotion. So those are the differences. Again, going back to my painkiller versus vitamin example. So look for pain signal, right? One of the best skill set that you need to showcase is the listening skills, and that, right, during interview, that helps you to go and dig into the real challenges, and look for like a frustration, emotional cues. That is a gold that will help you actually build your product. And again, like, a lot of time when you are doing it, when you avoid your own biases and avoid pushing your own product, those are the inputs. If those inputs were not there in your MVP, then probably you should add it into the MVP, because that's what customer generally pays for. And one of personally, when I used to do the user research, I used to ask like, look, I have a solution for your problem. Would you pay like a $50,000 annually for this? If answer is yes, then the pain that someone is describing is real. If answer is no, then you're talking to your friend who doesn't want to let you down. So they are just giving you the feedback. So there are different techniques that you can apply to get to the outcome. And generally, right, this is another trap. I have personally fallen into it. MVP doesn't mean that you have to build out a platform. It's a literally minimum viable product. What that means is you can actually build one feature or one capability that is significantly better than anyone else, and that's why people will actually come to your product, and then you will achieve a virality, and this will also validate whatever you actually did on your user research. You built it out as your MVP, and now you have a customers who can start using it. But this, right, MVP definition, entrepreneur will have a bias towards action, and they want to do everything, versus one single capability that is better than anyone else. So generally, right, PMF is not like you just do it once and you are done. It's a loop. So you build it. And it's literally a minimal viable product that addresses customer specific problem. You start there, assuming that you have done the user research, you have done the pain identification, then you go back and build it, but don't shoot for building the entire platform. You are still in a validation phase. Then measure, once you build it, right, you have to measure, see the user feedback, see customer satisfaction, understand product's impact. Product's impact is, if it is a user used to take 20 steps to implement something, now you have simplified the entire thing. The ROI is amount of time that you saved for customer, or in Zahir Bhai's case, he doesn't have to send any reminder. The Khatib has the automated calls or messages going back, and then you have a Khatib on time. or it could be depending on what you are building. This will happen naturally, and that you have to do it measurement. Don't fall in love with what you are building, but start falling in love with the problem. That's the difference. When you are in love with what you are building, you're not going if someone gives you critical feedback, you will not be listening to it. Versus the problem space, you will listen to it, iterate fast, and then change it. Analyze the data, and again, it will give you insights on how users are interacting with your product. There's a ton of learning, and then how's your product actually performing, because those are the weaker areas that you have to tune. And again, remember, it's a loop. Lot of time people don't get it right. They continuously improve it, and that's the journey. And then whatever insights that you find, again, go back to your build phase, assuming you are constantly doing the product market fit validation, you are actually doing the user interaction. So then again, from build to all the way to measure and do that. That's the cycle. There's no shortcut about it. If anyone comes and says, look, give me this data and I'll tell you what to build, that's nonsense. When someone says, look, outsource this part of the development and things will be expedited, you are living in the era where a lot of good code can come out of your Claude, Replit, Cursor. So try to leverage that. You should be a stronger prompt engineer and a great listener to identify where the gaps are, and then continue do the continuous iteration over it. Generally, if you do the B2B startup, it's a B2B meaning business to business. So for think of it, if I'm a Cisco, I'm selling a router, networking equipment, or things. Other businesses generally buys the solution. In 95% of the cases, if I'm a consumer, I'm not going to buy a Cisco router. The B2B is always a relationship driven, and how do you measure the success is what is the return on investment. If someone is paying you $100,000, are they able to save $500,000? And the way you measure it is, look, there's an X way of doing things. Your product actually automated it, and here is the overall gains in efficiency. Instead of having 10 people doing things, now it is one operator with your product, and they can do that. B2C is more like emotion driven, and it's a virality. B2C is not my expertise. I don't claim to be expert. I'm a student trying to learn B2C, but that's the difference. When you are thinking of startup, then there are subcategories like B2, B2C and other thing. But fundamentally, based on a first principle, business to business or business to consumer, then there are subcategories that will happen. But it will fall into two buckets. One is what is the return on investment, and in typical consumer thing, it will be more on the virality and instant emotions and instant gratification. Generally, right, and don't take this as a just final number. This is just a one opinionated view. When you are measuring product market fit, right, at least you should be retaining 70% of your user in 3 months. If you don't, that's not end of the world. That means you have work to do. And depending on what problem you are trying to solve for, that number will vary. But the key thing is, you should be measuring retention rate. So in 3 months, when you train someone or someone is using your solution, you had 100 users. After 3 months, do you have at least 70 users coming back and looking at it? Otherwise, what happens is, when your renewal comes, right, after a year, they'll say look, I bought for 100 users. I have only 50 users or 10 users. So then, either they reduce it or they say like, look, I bought it. It was just a window shopping list. I don't need it. The other is, this one is a stronger indicator. When you solve for a complex problem, right, your customer will talk to their other friends and family members, their peer group. So there's a lot of referral that will come, and that's the rate that you want to measure. And disappointment test, right, which is like, you just ask a simple question. You told me this in the beginning in your user research. You told me this is the frustration, and I had a solution. I have a solution which will solve for it. Did I actually do a good job at it? Give me the rate on 1 to 5. If you get 4 or 5, that's your disappointment test. If you do this, then your previously, right, PMF loop on the building, validating, that all this is actually input. And like, look, these are not a picture perfect matrix. You might not even get a picture perfect matrix, but that's the whole point. Like, when you do it, right, when you are doing in a product building journey, you need certain set of metrics to keep you honest and iterate over it. That governs your product roadmap, and that governs like what you're trying to build. So I talked through all this. So the other is like, there are I can't talk about some of my current experimentation, so I try to take a look at like industry standard like a Figma, for example, right? They took a frustration of collaboration and how designer, how organization communicates with each other, and they got COVID boost at time of during pandemic. And Figma is one of the best example. They actually solve one problem, which is a collaboration problem. Airbnb, if you look at it when you are traveling, earlier, like just hotels were the option. There was no option where you have a fully functional kitchen and a house, and that they optimized it. And that's like a solid product market fit example. YouTube is a fantastic example. Like before YouTube, the video sharing is like okay, I'll upload the clip and other thing, but now YouTube actually changed the definition of it. So these are like some of the examples where, and I can guarantee you, Figma, Airbnb, and YouTube, all of them have gone through that journey. And it's the same, like build, repeat, guided by a matrix. How many users are coming back? What is the overall rating, and what is my referral and that we are getting? So these are the example when you do it right. And generally, right, what are the stages of development, right? One, discovery, identifying potential customer, problem, and market opportunity through research, which you would do it and keep an eye on what your competitors are doing, who's your buyer, etc. The validation, it's like testing your assumption and see if actually it fits, and have a earlier prototype, think of it as a MVP, and don't try to build the entire platform, just the MVP, and validate it. And after doing that, just measure, collect the metrics, and see what is the product's overall reception, and just iterate it. So that's the typical journey that happens. And once you happen to have a solid product market fit, strong validation, everything is good, then you have to think of how do you scale it? How do you scale it to millions of users or hundreds of thousands of organizations? But then the real problem will come, and when you scale it, again, don't forget about your journey, how you got there. So apply the same steps and then repeat it. It's a loop. problem validation, a lot of time, right? So if anyone wants what is the problem definition, if you can't articulate the problem that you aim to solve for, then you don't have a problem. Like, so that's a first part. You should be able to define the problem. Then this one is most critical one. A lot of time problem might be real, but frequency, it's like a once in a blue moon that happens. Then you try to solve for that, then that's not a product. So if you ever come across in your research, you're solving it, but that's not a frequent problem, then I would say don't even attempt investing your resources. Go and find something else. The other one is, what is the pain level, right? The gauge, like, because of that problem, you have like a 20 engineers working on it, or there are financial losses, or like, a lot of community frustration that can happen. So then that pain level is your barometer. Like, and remember that vitamin versus painkiller. Nobody will pay for vitamin. I mean, someone will, but you won't be successful solving for vitamin problem. Painkiller is something that people won't have a choice. They'll have to pay for it. And then the workaround. So sometimes, right, problems are, problem is interesting, but workaround is like, whether US invest billions of dollars to write a pen that can write it in space, or you use pencil. It's a viable workaround. So that, right, you have to understand. And this is what is interesting is, when you are in love with a problem, you will be able to sense through it. But if you are in love with what you are building, you will say, no, pencil is still not, you can use eraser to erase it. It's not a viable workaround. But, just stay focused on the problem. When you are focused on the problem, then you'll identify what is a credible workaround versus, like, is it worth solving or not? And, collect the evidence of that actually supports the existence of your or significance of the problem. That evidence you could collect it in many ways, right? What is, if you ask the question of how are you working around it, and how is it working for you? What is the cost of not doing it, and what are the actual implications? Those are the evidence that you have to execute on. And yeah, the general, right, this is the disappointment test. This what is the disappointment of not having your solution? What is the main value? And who is your buyer? Like, who will get benefit from it? So when you have a solution, who signs the check? That's called executive buyer. But who is using your solution? That's your that's the key beneficiary that you want to figure it out. And what are the potential obstacles? So that's like a overall, right? If you think of it as your checklist, these are the key points that you have to just stay focused on. And entrepreneur must have a passion to for the problem that aims to solve the problem, and committed towards the customer needs. Yeah, that's my closing or last slide. But yeah, I'll pause for the questions. Any hard or yeah.
So first of all, thank you for walking us through this process. And if you're talking about a startup, right, and then somebody who has to go through all of these steps, they're not going to be able to focus on the development of the product itself. This is like a lot of, it's a pretty detailed and involved process that they would have to go through. is there a company or like a software or tool that actually helps you with this process? Like, hey, I have this idea, and then it'll go and do, give you the metrics that you're looking for to be able to measure your, customer base and the possibility or probability of the success of your idea, and etc.
Yeah, so generally, right, I would say that as a first step, right, I would say don't focus on getting the development done. This is a critical step that you have to do it. If you are from the industry, let's say if I come from monitoring and application performance management background, so I was a practitioner, so I've done it for more than 10 years. I can self-validate it, but in order to keep myself honest, I actually go and talk to the 10 other customers. As long as you keep it open-ended, you would actually get to it. But I would strongly advise saying, like, instead of building it first, you would do like the research. The matrix might look a lot, but it actually ultimately it will boil down to very simple thing. Is it a vitamin or a painkiller? Is it a repeat problem that is worth solving? What are the viable workaround? And are there any other competitor do it? So you could use like a chat GPT to do the research, but I would say don't skip the customer interview. This is my fourth startup. In my third startup, I thought like, I knew everything. And I actually, I did 150 customer interview, but decided not to build what I learned from the customer interview and build something else. And then we have to pivot it. After 2.5 years, we have to pivot it to what we learned. So generally, right, people will have a bias towards, just building it and doing it. But when you build and do it, what happens is your end customer, you find yourself pushing what you build is the right thing versus extracting the pain and do it.
I completely agree with that. My question was, you're lucky to be able to interview 150 customers. Not everybody can do it. They don't have that connections. So how do you even think about an idea, and then how do you go about validating? Because that's the most important and the painful point in a startup. So
there are other tools available. What you do is LinkedIn outreach. So there are what I tried doing was, if someone, let's say Mansoor Bhai, liked a LinkedIn post, and if Mansoor Bhai was my target audience list, I'll see the recency. Was he online on LinkedIn? I'll send him a survey and meeting request and other thing. So it's a cold outreach. Like, think of it, I'll give you the best example, door-to-door marketing, right? Door-to-door marketing is you have to knock 100 doors. Probably 3 or 4 people will come and open it. But that actually, you can engage some outside firm to get you like a responses of the audience for the meeting. And but the meeting has to be conducted. So you can take help. I'll actually give you some of the tools that we have used in past, and some of the even agencies that we have used. But that agency's job is not to conduct interview. Its agency's job is to get you a meeting. So generally track it as the entrepreneur is one of the beautiful journey where a lot of people will slam the door on your face, and you still have to smile it. But more outreach that you do, the probability of finding right contact is higher.
Do you want to also share, like, how do you even go about, I don't know if you or somebody else on the panel might want to share, how do you even go about getting that idea, the seed idea that might be worthy of going through this process?
So probably we'll discuss it in the panel. Yeah.
Thank you, Arpit Bhai. That was coming from experience of 3-4 startups, so there's a lot of depth in that. There were a lot of golden nuggets from that discussion, Arpit Bhai. For people who have gone through some of these journeys, I'm sure they will recognize those nuggets. So it's a good recall of what is important, what is not important to find the right product market fit. I have 10 minutes to go through some of the stuff that I want to go through. And while Arpit Bhai's session was more deep, very focused on the product market fit, I'm going to abstract it a little bit and go a little bit high level. Many times when you talk about the theses of these sessions, the organizing committee is split between how much information is too trivial for someone who's very advanced and how much information is too much for somebody who's just starting the journey. So that breadth is pretty, balance is pretty important to cover. I have 10 minutes to cover that, and I'll try and maintain that balance. A show of hands, how many have seen something like this before in their career with their children or yourself? It's called a cheat sheet, and this is very ideal for when you want to cover a lot of information in a very short span of time. I have something else that I was using for my kids called statistics here. And I'm a big fan of these cheat sheets because what happens in your day-to-day life is that you cover through so many things, and whenever you find a cheat sheet that gives you a lot of information in a very crisp manner, I tend to take a screenshot of it, save it, review it in my free time. And I'm going to use a lot of cheat sheets during these next 10 minutes to cover the breadth that I'm going to cover. So pardon me for the small details, but hopefully we'll be able to extract some summary from there. Okay. So I have an agenda. I have 10 slides to cover in 10 minutes. So as I said, I'll use a lot of the cheat sheets. How do you start a startup? Right. I think let's start there. What are the various stages of funding? What are the avenues and sources of funding? What investors look for? What is getting funded these days? Right. And some of you must have this question: what is the best bet? We'll cover some of that and open it up for a very exciting panel discussion. I'm going to be joined by Laiq Bhai, Sami Bhai, and Arpit Bhai on the panel. So we hope to really uncover, peel the many layers that we discussed through. But I'm going to take a very top-down approach and get you some nuggets that you can carry forward. All right. Let's start with the first cheat sheet. How to start a startup. So there's a diagram here. I'll cover mostly snippets of that. The way to generate ideas is you innovate. You look into the future, you innovate something that is not there yet, and that's a good bet. You can also look into the past and see what are the pain points and how can you solve a pain point. Right? That's one way. You make a prototype, show it to 100 people, reiterate till that makes sense, find a co-founder, a team if possible, register the company or structure the entity if you already registered the company, then land some funding, launch the product, keep growing till you reach 5% growth every year. That's the most difficult part. That's when people say that your product has found an ideal target market, when you can grow 5% every year. Arpit Bhai talked about our customers coming back. That's a very key metrics. If they're not if the customer coming back, it's great. And if they're not coming back, you should not hesitate to hit refresh. Arpit Bhai talked about how Airbnb had to build 3-4 versions of the product before they could find an ideal target segment that loved the product. So that's an entire journey of how to start a startup. I just thought I'd cover it from a very abstract level. And depending on whom you speak to, there are some variations and nuances of when should you raise money, when should you build a team. But by and large, this template will meet the journey of a startup. All right. Arpit Bhai talked about MVP. I just thought it's important to just give you some early stage product development. You go from a POC to a prototype to MVP, some of the nuances there. Arpit Bhai covered this in depth, so I will not go into details, but you can break every milestone into sub-milestones and evolve, reiterate, rebuild based on what traction you're getting. So I thought it's important to cover some of the nuances of early product development. This is where bulk of your energy, your experience goes in trying to find an MVP that customers love, and then you can build on it once you're raising capital. So that's again a 500-feet view of how early product journey goes about. My next cheat sheet is about stages of funding. This is a very detailed map. As I said, I pick up a lot of these cheat sheets on LinkedIn. It shows you various aspects of what you look for in a pre-seed funding, what you look for in seed funding, what is Series A about, what is Series B about, what is Series C about, and there's also nuances of special cases where you do bridge funding before you go from Series A to Series B or early stage to seed funding. Again, the information is right there. I don't want to go through it each step, but and also happy to share the slides for you guys to take a look at it. And that gives you a 250-feet view about the various stages of funding. I'll try and keep going deeper. And a lot of startups have this notion of what are the various avenues of funding? Is it only, do we have to go to VCs? Do we have to go to family offices? What is the sustained way of raising money? Here are like 29 ways you can have a sustained way of raising money. I've tried to capture the top 10, right? It's you bootstrap it with your own money. You find friends and family to back you. You use angel investing. There are a lot of incubators, accelerators these days where you can get development funds. I work with one called FalconX, this plug and play. There are many incubators and accelerators that will give you early development fund. That's another way to bootstrap. Sometimes when you get to a product that is revenue-able, you can find partnerships. You may not have the outreach to go to the entire market yourself, so you leverage partnerships to get early revenue. There are some ways to do product pre-sales before your full product is ready. You get some friendly customers who commit some funding to you by buying the product ahead of time, depending on how big a pain point your product is trying to solve. You can get that as well. There are some companies who do services initially. They do services while building a product. It's not the most scalable model because long-term VCs will pen you down if you have services revenue, but there are ways in early stages, first year and a half, you can do services and then fund your product. I've known many founders who do that. Then there is subscription-based revenue. Nowadays, there's a lot of initial coin-based offerings. With the crypto market opening up, there are companies who are doing coin-based offerings as well. That's a new source of funding. And of course, there's VC funding. All right, what do investors look for? I've tried to summarize something here. I have a much more elaborate cheat sheet right there, but I think ideas keep coming and going, technologies keep coming and going. What stays sacrosanct is the team that you've assembled. So a lot of VCs give a lot of importance to the team. Have they had prior success before? Have they tried this segment before? There's something called founder product fit, founder market fit, team market fit. So they look for a lot of these things because if something comes up that kills your original idea, do you have the team that can pivot and still build a compelling product? So team starts to become very important. Are you solving a problem or a need? It's very similar to what Arpit Bhai talked about, vitamin or painkiller, right? What is the competition versus the competitive advantage that you have? What is the strategic value? What is the target market? What is the revenue model as you go advanced stages? What are the financials? What is the exit opportunity? What is the investment terms? So I've tried to elaborate all of that in the mind graph there. Again, a cheat sheet from Apex investors. So you can see much more nuances of what VCs look for when they invest in a startup. All right. What is getting funded these days? Anybody who wants to take a shot at that? Yeah, no brownie points for guessing that. All right, so if you look for statistics in H1 itself, there's about $162 billion that went into funding into AI startup. A significant portion, 64% of startup funding in startups is going to the AI space. Again, if you look at the last many years, this is the significant year of capital investing and VC investing. And there are a lot of factors that are driving that. Fear of the unknown. VCs don't want to miss out a potential opportunity. These days, the typical VC thesis is that they take about 12 to 16 months to raise the capital, but startups are getting formed and getting into $10 million ARR very, very fast. So VCs are in a rush to go cash the early birds there. There's a mismatch between the time the VC takes to raise the fund and the time that the startup is taking to get to a product market fit. So there's a rush to do that as well. So there are various nuances. Again, if you look at from H1 to H2, it's still going up in terms of what is happening in the VC market. And AI is dominating the 2025 VC funding investing statistics. All right. Must know quick stats. This is something that I want to share just as a reference. There's a lot of talk about what are the benefits, what are the disadvantages. One thesis is for sure is that AI is able to generate 20% plus in sales and reduce 30% plus in cost. So that's one clear advantage that companies are seeing in investing in AI. Another data point I want to like to share is that we talked about AI taking away many jobs, but if you look at the statistics, this year alone, AI has created 170 million jobs and have taken away about 92 million jobs. Again, the split between what jobs AI is creating versus what jobs AI is taking away, it's leaning towards the number of jobs AI is creating. And again, a few more statistics. I've also listed the sources for those statistics. Bottom line key takeaways is that AI is everywhere. Generative AI is surging. ROI is real, but it's not sure shot. There are still some pain points and gaps to be fulfilled. Workforce transformation is a must. As we continue to do more sessions in MCC, we'll talk about what changes people have to undergo in terms of their own training, their own skilling, their own upskilling. That transformation is here to stay. There's no way that we can carry forward with the skill sets and expertise that we have in the pre-AI era to the post-AI era. So there is a lot of upskilling and reskilling that has to be done. And of course, so some of the quick stats there. Here's again quick snapshot of some view of where funding is happening. If you look at the bottom list layer, the best way to look at any technology evolution is to take a full stack evolution, right from silicon, hardware, connectivity, applications, data, and AI on top. So if you look at what's happening there, 90% of the funding and the profitability is at the bottommost layers, where AI infra or the basic LLMs are there. 90% of competition is very high in the application layer, what we call AI wrappers. Wrappers built on strong LLM models. So there's a lot of competition there. The more lower of the value chain that you, in terms of the technology stack that you go, there's a lot more funding, but also it's very difficult. It requires enormous amount of funding. And I just want to kind of paint the AI 100, and I'll come back to this in a little bit in terms of what's happening in different spaces. But I just want to give you some, snapshot of where the landscape is moving in 2025. All right, I end with this, right? With so much happening, what is the best bet? How do you know where you should put your startup journey? And I think the answer to that is that AI is very good at getting you at 85, 90, even 95%. It's always the last mile that is very challenging, and that's where your expertise comes through. So AI is here to disrupt every space that you know of, be it infra, be it your horizontal applications, be it your vertical applications. So there is no space that cannot be disrupted using AI. If you're HR, if you're finance, if you're sales and marketing, if you're in development, if you're in SRE, if you're in web, if you're in mobile, very few areas that are not designed for a reboot in the AI era. So lean on your expertise. If you're an expert in silicon development, if you're an expert in DevOps, if you're an expert in HR, if you're an expert in banking finance industry, if you're an expert in healthcare, use the expertise that you have, that you built over many years, amplify that using AI tools that are available, and that probably is the best bet in terms of where you want to double down on your startup journey. So those are very quick fun facts, I would say cheat sheets and some point of view from my side. With that background, with that information, I'll open it up for the panel. But hopefully some of this information was valuable. We'll leave these slides for you to take a look at detail because I know it captured a lot of information in a very short time span. But I'm happy to leave these slides for you to take a look and feel free to reach out to me for any further questions. Thank you.
I think that's good. Yes, sir. Samir, please take a seat. There you go. You got a special seat there.
Assalamu alaikum. So my name is Laiq. What we will do is we will go through some questions. What I've got is from a design standpoint. I've got one specific question for each and every panel member here. And then I got two questions which are like open, so you can just raise the hand and we could go for it. But before we get started, why don't we go through a quick intro round here? I'm sure you've all met the panel members, but why don't we go through a quick round of introduction? I'll start with mine. My name is Laiq. I currently work as a Chief AI Officer, Chief Data and AI Officer for a financial company. With that being said, Samir bhai, why don't you go to yours?
Assalamu alaikum everybody. My name is Samir Rahman. I work right now as an AI architect at a company called ASML, which is in the semiconductor industry. And I've been associated with the industry for about 10 years or so. In terms of AI, I've had about I would say 15 years of experience, starting with working in 2009 at the German Research Center for Artificial Intelligence. And that's a bit about me. I can, of course, talk more in answering the questions.
Assalamu alaikum. My name is Mansoor. I'm following one of the patterns. I'm actually consulting for a whole range of companies in terms of their M&A strategy, growth strategy, sales strategy, and using that avenue to do my own startup. It's in the AI space, needless to say. My prior experiences as a professional CEO, I was the CEO of a company that I grew from 50 to about 1,000 people. Along the way, raised money from private equity. That was my second exit. My first exit was again as a head of GTM strategy sales in BD. I grew a company from again 0 to about 1,000 people, exited that company to a private equity. So I've had two PE journeys. Hopefully this time I'm aiming for a VC journey. But that's about me. I've tracked the AI space very closely. My last company was a services company, but we started off AI back in 2019. This was the pre-LLM era. But we were able to build it to about 1,000 people and exit to a private equity company. So that's my background. I'm in the midst of a lot of technical geniuses. I have a different, I would say, wedge or an angle. I come from more strategy, go-to-market, BD sales, and corporate development background. So I'm hoping this panel will be able to bring out different nuances in some of the topics that we discuss.
Thanks. I'm Arpit Patel. I'm a Chief Customer Officer for a company called Harness. Before that, I was a founding engineer for a company called Traceable, which was in API security. Prior to that, I was co-founder of a startup called Bicycle.ai. So I've been through the startup. My first startup was Neve Technologies, straight out of the college. You are founding engineer for a startup which got acquired by Publicis Group. So all of the companies other than Bicycle is been acquired, and I've been in with VCs on fundraising to every single stage of the thing. So
What an amazing panel. So what we're going to do is we covered a lot of grounds with the funding side. So Brother Mansoor, why don't we start with you? So the question is basically more about funding aspect of it. So funding is often tied to traction. How do early stage investors today look for an evidence of product market fit in AI startups? That's one facet of it. Hold on. The second facet of that is what metrics or behavior matters most at pre-seed and seed. So you can actually combine both of this. And what we're going to do is we start with you, and then Brother Arpit or Brother Samir can also basically chime in there.
Yeah. I think some of these questions are going to be hard to have a direct answer. Startups are an unknown journey for most. But specifically to answer the question that you had, I was meeting a VC about a month back, and I asked them what's happening in the VC world. And they gave me an answer that is appalling, but also a reality. They said, well, a startup comes along, we evaluate it for all its merit, we give them a huge valuation, we fund them, only to know that in 3-4 months somebody else has built a feature in a product that outweighs what we've invested, and the valuation goes down. So even VCs are not able to put a pinpoint in what it is that they will catch the market dynamics. But I can say for sure that if you look at the SaaS 1.0 era, they were all about very narrow solutions defined for an ICP. What used to be a feature in the SaaS 1.0, what used to be a product in the SaaS 1.0 is a feature in the AI era. So things are changing really, really fast. So how can you break the silos of SaaS 1.0 into an end-to-end workflow that solves the function of the job of a function as opposed to an ICP is probably a theme that a lot of VCs are looking at. And I think for the statistics, I think Arpit Bhai has a better answer to that. I'll pass it on to him for what KPIs that they look for.
Yeah, generally VC, I think you described it very nicely on your slide. VCs are looking for the investing in the founder, the team, the problem statement, and as you go, like during seed round, they are literally looking for your product market fit and what is the total addressable market. A lot of time, a lot of people are put a big number on total addressable market. Then VCs have pivoted to what is the total serviceable market in next 1 or 2 years. So that's the first part. As you proceed further, they will look for your journey. If you are doing $1 million in revenue, are you able to do next year 3 million? Are you able to do a triple digit growth till you reach to 10 million in annual recurring revenue? And then they'll look for how are you managing are you burning money? Are you buying the growth? Because a lot of time, right, larger companies, what they do is they hire a solid sales force and have 100 plus sales rep. Each sales rep is doing a quota of bringing in $1 million in revenue. Assuming 80% of the reps will meet the quota, they'll show you $80 million in revenue. Then VCs, a seasoned VCs, they come and say look, how much money are you buying the growth? Right now AI space is unchecked by that. You can it's a NVIDIA gives 100 million to OpenAI. OpenAI gives 100 million plus commitment to NVIDIA, and both of their stock goes up. The AI is unchecked right now, but all other traditional startups are doing that. And VCs generally look for a growth, and are you buying it or other thing?
Yeah, I would just add an example. I think you see product market fit in the market quite often, right? So if you look at, for example, ChatGPT, which is a quintessential example, right, where OpenAI had been in the market at least as a research lab since 2015, right? And they weren't really sure about what product they will put out there. They had put out an API, right, for their early GPT models, right? And then I think it was November 13, 2022, when they put out ChatGPT, again as something of an experiment, right? They had no idea what would happen, right? They had just, in fact, they were waiting for GPT-4 before they really wanted to market it. But they said, okay, with GPT 3.5, which is the previous model, let's just put ChatGPT out there and see how the market reacts. Now this web page had no share button. It had just a web link where you could just prompt the system and start talking to it. And within 5 days, they had 1 million users on the platform, the fastest growing application in history. And basically you feel product market fit in the sense that you have to serve a market and you can't serve it fast enough because there's so much pull from the market, right? And that's obvious for the founders when they're in it, right? And when you're not in it, you know that you're not in it. I guess that's my only.
Just one point. So one of the genius on ChatGPT is actually without doing a account and anything, right? Just prompt opens up and consumer can interact and get the answer. That's one of the best go-to-market strategy. Imagine there's no sales or there's no marketing campaign around it. The simple thing, and then when people are using it, then they are saying like, look, I need access to the API, I need access to this platform, and then they do the more than hundreds of millions of dollars. So that's one of the beauty about go-to-market. And when you look at it, OpenAI, from just pure like what can I learn from it, that virality is a solid.
And when Arpit Bhai talked about user experience, that's the kind of new age user experience that people are looking for when they start adopting a product.
We have such an amazing talent here. It's difficult for me to contain them. So, please keep going. What we're going to do is just break this format a little bit. For each of the questions that we're putting out there, I'm sure you have a question. So we can just take like one question as a follow-up to the questions that we're putting out here. So anyone has a question? If you don't have a question, we can move on to the next question. But does anyone have a question here? Any pressing question that you'd like to ask our panel members here? Okay, if not, that's absolutely fine. I've got tons of questions, so I'll keep us busy. So, Arpit Bhai, this is a question for you. In your experience, you've got like 4 startups. What are the clearest early signs that an AI startup is moving towards or away from true product market fit? How can founders recognize these signals early?
Generally, AI startup moving away from the product market fit, one of the brutal metric is your usage will go down. Your user retention, that 70% number that I was talking about, if it starts continuous, like, if you month over month, or in Mansoor Bhai's slide, like there was a 5% growth week over week, you have to achieve it. If you don't have that, that's the clear matrix. And also keep an eye on the competition. Maybe your AI startup is falling because ChatGPT or Claude actually, whatever wrapper that you wrote, that became an out-of-box feature or an app available in the GPT marketplace. So,
Anyone else?
Arpit Bhai knows so much already that he can it on his own.
Sorry about that, Sami Bhai. Anyone has a question, follow-up question for the panel? Okay, just hang on. I'll just come there.
Thank you. So these days, a lot of hackathon happens where all these new kids or new generation go try things out. What I have been hearing is that some of these bigger companies take the ideas from that and they incorporate that into their own, they come out with a feature. As you said, nowadays it's a feature, it's not a product, right? So how do you do, the younger generation or anybody does need to go to the hackathon, see what's going on in the market. So how do you safeguard yourself against such a thing?
I think that's a fantastic question.
as an inventor or as an established company, which side I'm arguing for? Okay. Yeah. So as an inventor or founder, I would say have a patent and at least produce enough evidence on the paper. A lot of time, even if you don't have a patent, if you have evidence on your Google document, another thing, with a proper timestamp and another thing, you can actually legally argue, look, this was the idea or innovation that was showcased. And hackathon is one of the another evidence where you showcased it, and then that got copied by this thing, and you have a legal protection. Generally, patent is a longer process, so documenting and having the evidence to make sure your idea was authentic, whether it is your design document that was written on your internal wiki page or a Google Doc, and then what you presented on the hackathon, that you have to protect it. This is what even VCs does. So a lot of time when you go and talk about fundraising pitch, you are sharing your entire research, and VCs have an investment in the other company, so then they'll just pass on that intel. So for a VCs, a hackathon is a harder that you have to do it through the documentation and then have a patent attorney, just have a process. You don't have to get the patent done, but at least if you show like there was a intent of filing a patent and there was an attorney and other thing engaged, then you have a protection. For a VC side, you need to have an NDA. That's your only legal protection. And if your idea was like a game changer, then don't advertise it. Don't talk to too many people. I know close friends, they don't even talk about their idea.
That's
Just one quick response
Please.
to that. Actually, there's no easy answer. We're living in a world. I was doing a startup pitch deck evaluation, and somebody was demonstrating a product, and he went to this prompt and says that create a replica of Airbnb. And there it was creating a replica of Airbnb, and then he showed the product with these gaps, and he says these gaps are because it's not calling an API, and he says I'll fix these APIs, and so it's a very difficult time to build a unique idea. But I'll lean to what I last slide. Your expertise is very unique, what you built over the many years. Young entrepreneurs who think they can. I know a company who's 22-year-old people who are building a full sales or GTM OS. How much of the real world have they seen to figure out the end-to-end GTM play, right? So your expertise is your moat, and as long as you build something that is very core to you, very unique to you, you keep it close to your heart, and that's the way to build differentiated startups, in my view.
I'll just add a. I have a perspective on that. I feel if you are an early stage founder, you have to get in front of as many people as you can and should. If you have gotten to a point where we're like 3 or 4 or 5 companies, like what we have here, you can basically start in a stealth mode. But if you're someone new who you are doing it for the first time, my advice is get in front of as many people as you can. Because the chances are that idea is already someone has prototyped it. So the more you get traction in terms of raising the money, the better you can basically position yourself from a product standpoint. Sister Alia, you have a question?
Assalamu alaikum. So my question is, for most of us who are not entrepreneurs, we weren't, groomed with an entrepreneurial mindset. Some of us are long-term, corporate employees. What do you think makes an entrepreneur? Is there a personality type? Is there characteristics that, there are young people who are prone to taking risk and they're very excited and they have that energy, but for some of us who are older, the journey might not be as easy. So what do you think is the entrepreneurial mindset, and can you cultivate it?
That's a tough question. I have an opinion, but I'll let you guys go first.
Yeah, it's less about age. If you look at it, all the entrepreneurs, right? It's a drive. A lot of time, right? It's a repeat. There was a good study for Harvard or Stanford. I actually read a research paper long back. A lot of time entrepreneurship is like a fool by randomness. So a lot of time people suggest, Sam Altman, or CEO of Airbnb, or Bill Gates. But there are a lot of people, you don't know their failures. So Sam Altman's first startup was actually location sharing on top of, Facebook and other thing. He realized, look, Facebook as a platform has grown, so he pivoted and said, look, he sold the company, started another one. So what differentiates is like, are you able to keep going? And this is like, one of the thing that, one of the failure, but are you learning from the failure and then doing it? And a lot of times, like when things are not in the right, moving in the right direction, are you like open to it and say like, look, maybe I'm declaring bankruptcy here. I'm not going to go after this. I pivot and do other things. That's what actually differentiate, because it's a journey. It's not like a Disney movie where things are just, everything is rosy and fine. You see all four seasons in the same day. Entrepreneur, right? They'll have to hear a lot of no. They'll have to figure out, the funding. You're dry on the funding. Sometimes the employee that you are counting on, those employees will try to move on. But keeping all this noise and conditions aside, can you keep going and can you keep fighting? That's what it is. And yeah, I mean, a lot of, actually, I would argue, like, as you have more experience, you have seen all the tough days, so you have a better shot at doing it versus, I mean, nothing against young friends, but they'll have to learn through it, through the experience.
Get your perspective.
So very similar to what we have heard here. I think we all have great ideas, right? I mean, I am sure that everyone who's sitting here, they've got great ideas. But someone who's willing to step into the wild, take the risk, and not willing to fail, right? Now, every entrepreneur will not be successful. We all know that, right? But by heart, if you have the appetite to kind of take the risk, step into the wild, and try something out, I feel you're an entrepreneur. Now, there's a definition of something like, are you generating revenue? We're not going to go there. But I feel if you have that entrepreneur spirit in terms of taking risk, I feel you are entrepreneur by heart. But I'm sure, we got other opinions as well.
No, I think you got it spot on. I would like to just boil it down to two, risk-taking appetite and the hustle. The hustle is very, very important. You should be able to get up every single day and go through the hustle. Nothing that comes in your way should stop you from getting to where you want to get to.
Yeah, but I mean, just know that we are so lucky to have such amazing panel here. I mean, they are so well versed, great experience. Sami bhai, I'm going to ask you a very quick question. Raza bhai, you're most welcome to chime in here as well. Before writing code or training a model, what practical steps should new founder take to validate that a problem they want to solve is real, painful, and worth paying for? It's a test for you if you're paying attention, but let's see what you're going to say.
Yeah, I think, I mean, it's very exciting to see new technology, new papers coming out all the time. You have a lot of ideas on what you want, how you could apply it, but I think you always have to start with the customer experience and then work backward to the technology, right? So even before you start writing any piece of code, you need to go and talk to people. And go and talk to the people in the industry in which you're interested to build. And when you talk to people, you have to conduct these user interviews in a very specific way. You don't want your people you're talking to talk about hypotheticals about the future, because hypotheticals about the future nobody really knows, right? His idea on what will happen in 10 years may be just as good as yours, right? So what you want to do is to ground the user interview in the user's history, in using the whatever technology that you want to work on, right? And you want to listen very carefully, right? To see where is it may be he's talking about some set of things that, okay, this is what my workflow is for, be it anything. Let's say it's, for the sake of argument, it's a customer support engineer taking care of a piece of hardware, and they are dealing with the hardware going down, right? He may be talking about several things about what's really the painful part about it, but you have to keep a very keen ear to where does he express the most frustration, right? And then note that down, and then try to conduct this experiment several times with many different users, right? And the hard part is to get to those user interviews, right? But once you are in those user interviews, don't let that opportunity go, without listening very carefully, they always say, right, you have 2 ears and one mouth. You want to listen much more than you speak, right? Don't let them go into how they would think the solution should be, or what the future will look like. Make them talk about where the pain has been for them, what has been an issue, where do they spend their time, right? What does their day look like? Because all of these are clues in the user journey, right? And as you do that experiment with as many people as possible, you will start to see certain trends, right? And once you start to see those trends, you have some hypothesis, right, on what a certain solution may look like that can serve the market segment that you are going to go after. At that point, once you've done that process a lot, you start building a product, right? And already at this point, once you bring the product into the market, it may be that you have misunderstood what the customer actually wanted. So you restart the journey, but this time showing, again, talking about what is the problem based on your understanding, so that you can see that whoever you're talking to, let's say it's a B2B play, and you're talking to your customer, you again listen to them, you talk about what you understand the problem to be, and then you show your demo. And then you watch very carefully on how they respond. What are the first few things they say about the demo? How do they use the product if they end up going on your webpage, right? And you continue to learn and iterate, right? And that cycle needs to continue. I would say it's a long answer, but
no, you're spot on. In fact, I know you read my questions as well. I mean, way in advance. So I can't even ask my next question. So this is going to be wrap for us. But please, absolutely.
So just Samir bhai, personally knowing Samir bhai, I've always, there's a solid trend on Samir bhai, he never wastes his single minute. Either he's writing a code, reading a book. This is like constant observation. So just from your point of view, you being an AI architect, right? If, let's say, Brother Ali wanted to do a startup on AI field, what would you recommend? Because you being an AI architect, you have written a lot of AI apps. I've seen your demos and other things. What would be your typical advice to not only to Brother Ali, but to everyone? Like if you are thinking about doing, because there's a lot of hype to playback. What do you do for the idea? How do you get the idea? Maybe you should share some of the thing.
And I'll just request Laiq bhai to add to that. You from being a chief AI officer, how do you see that the problems with an enterprise, and how do we address that as well?
So you have a customer and you have an entrepreneur. You could see this playing out as well.
Yeah, and I think you should ideally start with learning about the market, right? So it could be that you don't actually build a product at all. You start consulting with customers, right? Try to see what are actual, take up projects, maybe go on Fiverr, for example. Look at what kind of AI projects are out there in the market. Start doing a couple of projects. It may be that they're only for $5, $10, right? The money is not important at this stage. It's insight that is important, right? So you start to do some projects, start to deliver on some work. In the process of delivering work, you will start to see where is the pain that I'm running into, right? And then you talk about that pain with the customers that you deliver the solution to, right? As you do that with several customers, you will start to realize, okay, that I've consulted with end customers. I think I have this insight, right, on what I can build. So you start building a demo, and it's easy, like we discussed, to start building something, right? You start building a demo, right? And at this point, you just want one user. If you get one user for your demo, for your product, who is willing to work with you, and he's willing to go on the user journey with you, you pretty much have, the start of a startup, right? In the sense that you just need feedback from that one user, and you continue building. You give them the application, they give you more feedback, you continue building, right? And you keep the cycle going, right? And so I would say it's a function of first going into the market, building insight, right? spending hours with the customers even before you've built, right? And then once you start building, getting at least a small set of users who really love your product is the way to go, right? Once you have a few people who love your product, it's very easy to go to a large number of people who love your product as well. But if the first few people don't really like your product, you can throw a big sales team at it, and maybe you can build a company, right? But a generational company requires great products, right? And those only come once you have a few users who love the product, and then you scale. So that would be my 2 cents.
Yeah, I think these are great things. I just want to add one thing to it, to answer that, which but I heard it in the recent discussions about that ideas, where to look for ideas. And this gentleman, he was working, he was a kind of an early hacker, so he went into the security side of things. Eventually he changed his career. So his point of view was that look for simple and boring things, because everybody is chasing the crowd is going this way, so you don't follow them, but think of coming up with something very simple and boring. So he gave an example of Splunk. Splunk in the monitoring area, when they came up, it was a very tedious work to look through the logs and correlate things. So nobody wanted to do that, but they built it, and then the product is. So I think that's what I just wanted to share with here.
I think
Just one example is UiPath. UiPath is one of the company. Their founder was a consultant, and all the robotic process automation, he used to do it for his customer as a consulting exercise. What he actually ended up doing was just had a library of it and launched it. And UiPath is where it is right now. So, lot of a first principle, right? And to brother's question, how do I get the idea? One of the ways, just do the consulting, and then you'll understand the pain firsthand. Once you understand the pain firsthand, you are the best person to solve for it. That's the thing.
so. By virtue of me being the moderator, I get the chance to kind of at least go through my steps, so I can run around and take your questions. Raza Bhai, if there is anything else you'd like to add? Okay, all right.
Would you want to respond to that?
I think you all covered it. I mean, it starts with pain point, right? I mean, as a customer, as someone who's looking at hundreds of startups, what I'm looking for is, what is my pain point? Did someone in front of me really understand my pain point? And what's the optimal solution, right? I mean, optimal solution could be business fit, technology fit, as well as cost fit, right? So in simple terms, you all touched upon that.
I want to add a couple of things.
Please.
I think another thing you really need to do is to be radically honest with yourself, right? It's really easy to fool yourself. You have to think about 1, what do you want? 2, what is true? And 3, how do you get what you want given what is true, right? And that is in general true in life, but also in the product building journey. You don't want to fool yourself into thinking, though, I have a great product, I have, things are going to work out. You have to set yourself a certain time frame that this is what I think is these are the learnings I need to do. This is the money I'm going to put. This is the time I'm going to put into it, and this is the insight, or this is the goal I would like to achieve from that. And if you're not able to do it, then keep asking yourself the radically honest question: am I going in the right direction? If I'm not, I need to course correct. And I think it's really easy to confuse yourself, both when you're working on, let's say a math problem that you can't solve, but also in the customer, in the market journey, right? In the product market fit journey, you can confuse yourself, right? That I have something great, and you don't want to do that. And to do that, to avoid that, you want to be radically honest with yourself by telling people that this is where we are, this is where we would like to get, and checking with yourself whether you got there or not, right? And that's something I would like to say.
What an amazing nuggets of wisdom here. So really appreciate the panel here. Why don't we take a few minutes, just a few seconds to appreciate, give a round of applause to the panels. We are not done yet. as per the feedback from a lot of folks from the past, we want to kind of give really good amount of time for question answers. Since you have showed up here, I'm sure you have like tons of questions in your mind. No question is bad, trust me. It is likely that the question that you're asking, that question is also with someone else. So you're actually doing a favor. So please do challenge the panel here. And so many other brothers who have got some really good nuggets and information insights. Now it's the time to ask any questions you have on top of your mind, and I will keep on circulating the mic. So who's the brave soul who wants to go first? Oh, you're the brave soul. All right, go for it, please.
Actually, brave question, yeah.
All right, go for it.
Sorry. Assalamu alaikum. Thank you. Great presentation. Really appreciate this. Just a question that how much of this is hype actually here and how much of this is real? AI is a big elephant here, right? So it means different to different people, right? So is it automation or is it real AI or what are we trying to solve, right? So the back-end LLMs are done, right? So what else needs to be done, right? So common sense problem solving, or what is it that we need to solve now? Plus automation versus AI, what's your take on that, right?
So I think some of the hype is real. AI will be like electricity. So think of it, I think more than 10, 15 years ago, when cloud came into picture like AWS, GCP, right? Every single data center person was like saying, hey, is it real? It's not reliable, another thing. But it took like a lot of time to the extent where all the CIOs had a common theme. If you are not in cloud, that means you are not smart. That was the thing. In AI world, what will happen is there'll be like a 4 or 5 companies who are here to stay. The OpenAI, Anthropic, Perplexity, I'm sure there will be a few more. The cloud provider will change, will re-innovate themselves, and they'll also be more of a AI centric. So in terms of benefit to humanity, like, will you be able to do your job much in a better way? That's 100% real. What actually Mansoor bhai was sharing, all the investment, AI is dominating that investment. Would every single investment become a fruitful? They'll make return on it? That's questionable. And generally I see AI as a evolution. It's not just automation. It's evolved. Like, how do you do things better than the automation? And that will be there. So we actually, community learning about AI is beneficial. From a commercial point of view, not all the other startups will make money. But there's this is not a, like, if you look at it from a .com burst versus right now, I would say there are early signs of value that is adding of how do we work better. Like, anytime, generally a lot of time, right? Like Mansoor bhai, I also have go-to-market team as well. So a lot of their legal contract, the things that I used to go to legal and ask, like, okay, interpret for me, I actually now use ChatGPT and do it. A lot of even code that I don't understand, I actually use Anthropic to understand it. Or a lot, and every night I put something as a deep research topic and get the output. So those things are real. Like, the benefit of humanity is real, but you also have to, AI will make mistake. So you can't take everything that AI is telling with a grain of salt. My practical example was when I was preparing for citizenship test, I generally said, look, become my interviewer and ask me a question. Question was, who is the Vice President of United States? I said J.D. Vance, and said, no, it's Kamala Harris. So it was trained with the wrong data. But it'll get there. So.
I'll just respond in 2-3 nuggets there. For me, AI is a transformation. as opposed to various technology evolutions that we have seen. Just like we had 4 large web-scale cloud vendors, and there must be a thought process that now that the cloud is built, what else, right? And you saw a lot of applications being built to a SaaS 1.0 scenario. Now that the LLMs are done, what is remaining? So there is a subtle difference between AI overlay versus AI native. A lot of SaaS companies that existed in the SaaS 1.0 are now trying to embed AI into their evolution, and that will become an AI overlay. But if you think AI native, if you were to go and address that problem all over again, using what AI is able to deliver today, it can be transformative. A lot of the steps that you would think in sequence of 10, or you would think required a 50-member team to implement, if that all of that can be implemented in hours and days. So there's a new mindset to looking at AI native as opposed to AI overlay, and that's the power of transformation. Because then you can think of any imaginable space that exists today and rebuild the playbook with an AI native thought process. The last thing I would say is that unlike a lot of transformations that are technology transformation, an AI transformation is not pure technology. Like for the last 5 years, I was trying to help enable customers adopt AI, but technology was a small sliver of it. What you now see is called post-industrial thinking. I advise a company called Post-Industrial Institute. This transformation not only is a technology transformation, organization design, leadership style, organization culture, how do you embrace automation, everything is about to change. And that's the power of a massive transformation that we will see over the next 10, 15 years evolve. So it is, for me, real. The hype could be on how this round tripping of investment is happening, but the technology has potential that at least our kids and next generation will live assuming the capabilities of AI are available on day one, and they will think about what to do with that and build on top of that.
Just to test, right, there's a kid right now on the laptop. If you ask him, is he using Google or ChatGPT, right? Just hear his answer. Can you call? What do you use when you want to find answer to a question? Do you go to ChatGPT or do you go to Google? Google.com. Let's say.
Like father, like son. What an amazing answer. It depends.
But this option. So if you ask 10 years ago, this answer was always Google.
Yeah, 100%. It has shifted. I mean, I can attest. My kids are like, okay, let me do ChatGPT versus Google. So, Samibhai, you have a perspective. Go for it.
I do want to talk a little bit about the question of whether it's hype. I think history will look at it as a very underhyped technology, in fact. And I see this I say this in terms of decades and centuries, not in terms of months and years. I think that if you look at the moment when you had the printing press, for example, it completely changed how human beings interacted with knowledge, right? They were able to write books down with some mechanical pieces that were able to print them much faster, so distribution became much wider. Similarly, ChatGPT distributes knowledge way more widely. I'm not able to understand a lot of complicated biology. I've just done grade 8 biology. But I can ask ChatGPT, explain this to me like I'm a 5-year-old. Right? At that point, I can interact with it in a way that I could not have before. I do think that specifically to computing, I think AI is a lot more like the first computing revolution than it is like the internet. The internet is more of a networking technology. It connects people. The first transistor was able to do some form of compute. It was able to calculate numbers, right? You back in the during World War II, you had a lot of women actually doing hand calculation, right? There were hand calculators where there were typically women in places like Bell Labs that were doing cutting edge research. And then they were replaced by computers, right? Similarly, this is a completely, it's called Software 2.0. Often you'll see there's a very famous blog on this, right? From Software, that Software 2.0 is about neural networks doing the work for you. And I think that this paradigm is, at least on the scale of decades and centuries, people will look back at it as an extremely important moment in history.
Response from a PhD, of course. And we got another PhD out there, Brother Raza, so I'm sure he's got perspective as well. My request from panelists is if you can keep your response to like 30 seconds, that will be awesome, because you have like tons of knowledge. You can actually give a half-an-hour lecture on each and every question, so I completely understand. I want to take as many questions as I can from the audience here. So let me go with a little one first. Please.
Like,
Has to be a good question.
okay. Like sometimes when I use ChatGPT, what happens is that last year I was having some homework, so I asked it a question. I asked if you're confident with the answer, but it said I'm not sure about the answer. Like AI is not really that confident all the time. So like how come AI is not always as confident as humans?
Excellent question. Anyone can take it, please. That's a really good question, please. I have a perspective, I can share that with you as well, but why don't you go? No, please. Please.
Yeah, there's a very long answer to this question, and there's a very short answer to this question as well.
Let's start with the short one.
Okay, let me give you a nice analogy. What at the end of the day, what ChatGPT is doing is that there's a closed box. Imagine there's a box of toys in front of you, and every time it says a word, it kind of pulls a toy out of that box, right? And it has some idea of which toy is the one you want, but it doesn't quite know for sure. So it could end up bringing up a toy that doesn't quite fit your need, right? So and that what happens then is that sometimes it can get the right toy as the output, and sometimes it gets the wrong toy as the output. That's a very short answer. I think I can go more into the technology.
Yeah, I'm just going to add to that. I mean, just know that currently AI is very confident in its answer, right? I mean, of course, it's statistics. It's exactly what he was talking about. But just trust and verify. Don't blindly trust AI, as you would not trust even human beings, right? Except your dad, maybe. All right, we're going to go to the next question. Who's the next one? All right, please.
Jazakallah khair for the excellent presentation. I mean, a lot of stress was given on taking the user feedback and making sure your ideas are grounded well. And that is the place where I struggle with. Like let's say I have an idea to maybe I have an idea to build a excellent, let's say, patient care app, for example, right? How do I go about, let's say, getting feedback? Like, how do I find those patients? Where do I find them? What is my channel to? So, like, any insights into that? So, like, how do I even get started with getting user feedback?
One is like, if it is a patient care app, you will definitely figure out the demographic and which age and is it elderly or other thing. Ideally, I would just go to the hospital and try to see, like, look, hey, I'm doing a research. Here's the app. This is the problem that it is solving for. And probably, like, one of the best feedback is if you make it available, if you can afford to make it available free for a couple of patients and see, like, monitor and see if they are getting value out of it. Then I would just go and try to use hospital as a channel and have it as one of the offering. But if it is a patient care app, I would directly talk to the patient and try to see. Sometimes it's in a family you can ask, sometimes friends you can ask, or if you don't have any of them and super healthy family, I would just go to the. Yeah. Yes. Yeah. 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 It's a hard, see, and one thing keep in mind, I'm sorry, lot of people will say no. So you ask 100 people, 10 people will say yes. But don't be afraid if people say no. You should focus on those 10.
And there are a lot of tools which are out there in the market. For example, I'm not doing publicity of Amazon, but there's an Amazon Hero. And you just have to put the prompt and it will do the whole user stories for you, which means product features and requirements. That gives you a starting point, and then you can also go and do that validation. So it's like, you got what you got as a starting point, you have to do your due diligence of validating, but you're not starting from just scratch. Anyways, we're going to switch gears. I think are there questions from sisters? Okay, I'll come there. 30 seconds, 30 seconds.
Assalamu alaikum. I'll also try to keep my question short. So I've told you guys I'm a technical writer, I do documentation, and I've been thinking of trying to transition out of my position. I've been doing this for 20 years, so I was looking into AI ethics and governance. I was trying to do research on what I could transition into. I wanted to ask you guys if it has affected you guys, AI ethics and governance. Is this something that you would recommend, like looking into as something to transition into?
That's not a 30-second answer. I know that for sure. You can take 60 minutes. Oh, sorry, 60 seconds.
AI ethics has definitely affected us. Anytime when I want to adopt a tool, we have to take the approval because of the AI governance and everything. I think it's a pretty good. Every single company needs it. A lot of time, there's a thing called if you are an enterprise, the fear on enterprise SaaS companies, especially SaaS 2.0 or 1.0, or if you're a platform company, their fear is if all of your metadata is leaked out to third-party AI, then your business, there's a potential your business can be replaced. So yeah, shortest answer is yes, AI ethics, every single enterprise company needs to have one, and they have a privacy, security and AI office, PSAI office. That's the function that exists. And maybe that's a good transition.
Yeah, I would look Europe. Europe has a lot of governance, ethics, law, compliance requirements. They are leading the pack compared to the US. US is a little bit more liberal, but even in the cloud era, there were a lot of compliance and regulations that enterprise needed to follow, and there are instances where Facebook, Meta had to pay a lot of penalties. So if you look at some of the leading organizations that are tracking this space and putting the governance structure required for ethics in AI, the data sources in AI, what data sources are your models getting trained, there's a lot of opportunities there. I would definitely encourage you to take a deeper look there.
I can speak to you. This is not like I cannot, as well articulate what they have said, but this is a little bit of long-wielded answer because I come from a regulated industry. No, I cannot even attempt that. Anyways, I'm going to take another question.
I'll follow up on her question. First, two parts to it. One is probably a silly question first. That you're not asking her to move to Europe or something, right? Yeah, that's my wife, by the way. So the second part is more serious. I think like you highlighted one of the statistics about 170,000 new jobs created versus 90,000 lost or something like that, or 90 million, I think it was millions. Maybe if you can double click on that, like what kind of jobs AI is creating, so that would be good for the newcomers as well as the old people who want to, olders like us and who wants to change their domain.
That's a tough one.
The AI, right? AI security, it's a hottest field. Like if you see the investment, all companies who used to claim they do AI security, they got acquired by Palo Alto, Zscaler, all the larger security companies. But the security domain in general for AI remains hot. The second one is on the governance and compliance. So if you do a business with fintechs, which most of the startups are, you have to produce evidence that your AI doesn't have a bias, doesn't have a, have proper governance and other thing, and data redaction and other parts. That's the second one. The third one that sister was asking was PSAI and the AI governance. That even in a US company, it became one of the mandate, because imagine organizations, one of the engineer for upload company's sensitive information on ChatGPT, and ChatGPT, if you use it, click on settings tab and they'll say like, yes, we use your information to train the model and everything, and that becomes a public knowledge. So that is one part. I'm sure other part, Mansoor bhai can say, prompt engineer or AI engineers.
Just to give you an analogy, right, like I talked about a product in the pre-AI era has become a feature in the AI era. I think we owe it to all ourselves. We all have one unique skill set. Like, for example, if you are a strong, I'll just give you an example, if you are strong at QA, right? QA jobs have evolved from manual test to automation test to non-existent QA. So you take a core skill that you had, but you can augment yourself with a lot of things around it. So just like a product has become a feature, your unique skill set has now become a small portion of what all you can cover based on how you can amplify yourself using AI. So within the specialty that you have, you may have found redundant roles around that somebody else were doing that you could take on, amplifying yourself with AI. So surrounding yourself or amplifying yourself with AI tools is the best way to secure your role. And through that notion itself, you will have many jobs that are consolidating and new roles emerging. And these roles will start evolving further depending on what new tasks and roles that AI is going to enable you for.
Zahir bhai was kind enough to give us 10 more minutes. So maybe I'll add 15 seconds to your response. 45 seconds? Just kidding. So we can take a few more questions for our next 10 minutes. Yep, I'll come there.
Like by these questions, we want you to answer first.
Assalamu alaikum everyone. So I just started like a quick question, just to go over like what are some of the most common mistakes that like first time founders make, and based on like your vast experience in this domain, what are some of the things that you know now, but you wish you knew earlier in your journey that would have like changed its course or maybe pivoted to a like more different direction, something like that? Just share your thoughts.
From my perspective, normal in the excitement of presenting your startups, you go a lot more depth than what you should. If you've identified a problem, if you've identified an ISP for the problem, you just start with talking about, this is the problem I'm solving. Don't talk about how you're solving it. It's a good lesson to carry forward. And the moment that ICP is in the audience and they realize that that's a problem you're solving, they will come to find out how you're solving it, be it a VC, be it anybody else. So pause at what you're solving and don't have to reveal how. Early stage. That's one nugget that I can share with you.
Please.
Maybe a philosophical answer more so. I think it helps to invert the problem always, right? Instead of asking how can I succeed, sometimes you can ask how will I make sure, how would I fail, and then work backward from that. Then how do I avoid this failure, right? So I would say that again, maybe I'm harping on the same stuff, but basically, how would you fail? You would fail if you don't know anything about the market that you're going after, right? If you have no idea what you are doing, and you start building, and you would fail if you continue to build without putting anything out in the market for you to learn. You have some great hypothesis about the market that, this is what the market needs, and I'm going to give it to the market, and I'm the only one who can give the market what it wants. And I'm going to continue building for 5 years because I'm so sure of what I'm doing, right? You will fail if you run out of money. right? So I think inverting the problem and thinking about all the ways in which you can fail, and then de-risking all of those questions. That's the way that startups usually succeed.
Excellent point. The only thing that I would add to that is rapid prototyping, right? We are living in the world of AI. Don't spend too many cycles. Just spend too many cycles on rapid prototyping, iterations. I think this is where tooling, as we have had conversation like, code generations and testing and so many things which are out there, the whole life cycle is disrupted with AI. That will really help. Anyways, any other questions? Razaba, you had a question, right? Okay. I'll come to you. Sorry. Sorry about that. I didn't see. That's okay.
I have two questions. The first one is, I guess, about ethics, and it's what would you recommend for like an organization or a business that has implemented AI in various areas like legal or public relations, customer relations, labor relations, but seems to be consistently sort of missing the mark and overly dependent on it? How would you, what are your thoughts on how would it be possible to sort of transform that dynamic? And then the other one is, do you have any, from a practical standpoint, like any recommendations for programs that someone, as a student, would be able to just access, like open source, and sort of just pop the hood and started, figuratively speaking, and get an idea for what these programs look like and stuff like that, that might kind of give them an idea, this is a general kind of thing, what they would be looking at for a lot of different applications. Yeah, that's it.
You want to say something?
No. I had a question.
Laiq bhai, you should talk about the open source. Sorry, Raza bhai. Yeah.
On the spot now. You can escape.
I think there are a lot of open source options available. So what I would recommend is that maybe something like Coursera. So Coursera has got a lot of technical courses that are available. Many of them are freely available. You can start with them. Deeplearning.ai, that is something that I would follow. And then there are a lot of universities that have open sourced all of their content. So there are some machine learning, deep learning related courses that I highly recommend. I can share those resources with you if you want.
If I may add to that, it totally depends on your persona, right? What are you looking at? If you're looking at fundamentals, as Brother Razabai mentioned, there are a number of sources. I highly recommend starting with deeplearning.ai. That is the best place. You can find anything out there, and you can go in terms of any depth you want from that perspective. And yes, of course, Coursera and OpenCourseWare, there are tons of MOOCs out there that can provide you the information. We can actually chat with you and see if you have any specific need in terms of what you're looking at. Do you want to go deep in the ethics space, or do you want to go deep in the machine learning or applied AI, or depending on the product management side? Totally depends on how do you foresee yourself, what is the kind of career you want to kind of get into from an AI perspective, and then we can provide you specific guidance on that front.
Two more data points. There was one company in robotics space who were literally about to release their commercial robot. They could not raise money, and they've open sourced the entire code base and the models behind it. So if you're looking at robotics, I can point you to some directions. Cisco was working on agent-to-agent communication. How will one agent interact with another agent, and what are the protocols to follow, including security, compliance, etc. They just open sourced it, and they're working with Xerox PARC to put it in open source. So there are quite a few avenues, depending on, like I said, your area of interest. You can find a lot of these open source resources.
Razabai, you have a question. Sorry, I'll come to you.
His first question was more on the compliance your legal team and other team are using, right? One of the key metric that you should be measuring is the adoption. If your legal team and other teams, what is the usage metric, and try to see efficacy of it. So for software engineering side, there are DORA metrics. I'm sure for a legal side, if the usage problem is that you can generally look at it from the AI adoption or the whatever provider that you have. Was that your question, or was there an efficacy question also?
I guess it was just sort of a general question.
Okay, yeah.
There is open interpretation, responsible AI framework that will give you a good
Yeah. But first, see if you have 100 people or a team, out of 100 people, how many people are actually using it? So especially you have license for the technology.
So I have got two questions, one for Arpit Bhai and one for Mansoor Bhai. But before that, thanks for really informative presentations and discussions. So Arpit Bhai, you mentioned that you have been part of 4 different startups and you had a framework where we vitamins versus painkillers. So can you tell us that how many of the startups that you were part of were vitamins or they were painkillers? And to add to that, do you see that in some particular sectors there are more vitamins-oriented startups rather than the painkillers?
Out of 4, 3 are painkiller. One that I did before the security journey, that was the actually vitamin, because that was the problem that we made up in our mind. Customers were telling something different, and we thought, no, customer doesn't know, so we know better. So so out of 4, like 3 were like little painkiller.
So do you think that in the operations, monitoring and security space, there is more room for painkillers or vitamins?
It's always painkiller. Especially security. If you look at it in security world, there's lot of investment goes in behind the people and the attack, right? How the attacks are happening and from where people are attacking it and everything. That generally evolves. So that way, it's like a virus versus antivirus. Your virus has to come first, then your antivirus solution will catch that.
Okay, thanks. Mansoor Bhai, I had a question regarding the experience that you were telling us that within the VC space right now, many of the new products that are coming are getting eaten away by the features of the big tech companies. So how are the VCs evolving right now? Are they changing their framework somehow? What are they looking at to make sure that their investments are going to be future-proof?
Yeah, I mean, I keep reading a lot of LinkedIn articles on this topic. There is a broader sentiment that the VC playbook itself is getting questioned because of the cycle that they take to raise their own money. Startups are moving at a much faster pace than the time that they take. I've also heard, if you look at A16Z and a bunch of these VC companies, they are starting to act like private equity companies in some sense. Earlier, they were averse to consolidating and integrating companies and creating a large company. Nowadays, they are more open to integrating point solutions, stitching them together to evolve a complete holistic function. So earlier, when some solutions were solving for one ICP and one ICP alone, now there's room for solving it at a functional level, at an organizational level. So they are changing their dynamics too. And it goes to a very far extent to this question where VCs will be relevant in the cryptocurrency or the tokenized market, because now you have the ability to raise money from a global audience in the form of coins. So there is a lot of changes happening in the VC world. Again, people who've been in that space can give you better answer, but there are a lot of signs that VCs will start changing how they think, their investment theses, and how they will evolve, for sure.
Yep. We're going to take just 2 questions. Are you okay with that? Okay, one here, one there, right? We're done.
Assalamu alaikum. So I have a question regarding the vitamins and painkillers. So most of the solutions now coming in AI is more of a painkiller kind of a solutions now. But there are various issues with which needed vitamin kind of a solution, and it's going to be a long-term one. So how do we convince to get the funding for the vitamin kind of a solutions?
I'd like to believe that there is more vitamin solutions in AI than painkillers, because AI is tending to amplify everything that you're doing. Like vitamins will amplify you based on the shortcomings that you have. So right now I feel there are a lot more vitamins available in the marketplace, especially in the form of AI wrapper solutions. The painkillers run deep, but I'll defer that to Arpit Bhai as well.
If you want to convince your vitamin solution needs funding and another thing, the thing is like adoption. How's the what's the solution's adoption? It's a journey. You might not be able to do it in a first shot, but at times, right, you start with a vitamin, that's okay. what is the ROI of your solution, what is the value that you are giving back to the customer, then it becomes vitamin that without which you can't live. So, but it's a journey. It's not a straight answer. It is very specific to the solution that you are working on. But I would ask myself a harder question. If it was not there, would world function? Generally, your question in case of vitamin is, okay, you will gain 10 or 20% of efficiency. But if you scale it up, then your gains will be much higher.
Cool. Is it okay if I ask 2 questions?
Yes. Break it up 1A, 1B. That's
sure.
Yeah.
Sounds good. One quick question that I was interested in that I see a lot of people in university that are starting startups are struggling with is this idea that we were talking about of LLM wrappers. Say that you are building an LLM wrapper type startup and then ChatGPT or Perplexity or whatever now adds it as a feature. Should they give up on the startup, or is there a way they can pivot to continue their idea? How can they proceed from there?
In a race, right, there is not just one winner, right? There's number 1, number 2, number 3. All of them finally make money. So if you are doing a startup, and if I would just take it up positively, like, look, OpenAI added a feature, Perplexity added a feature. So, I mean, they are validating what you're doing is thing, and you have a head start. So you would then put more barrier to entry and more like a use cases that you have covered. That's your coverage. Because if you both like OpenAI will increase their price, ChatGPT will be increasing their price. Perplexity will increase their price. So, like, but depends on which wrapper that you are writing. If it is solving the pain in a right way, then I would just say, like, your problem problem statement got validated by the giants, like it's worth solving for it, and you have a head start to it.
Yeah, I'll just mention 2 points there. One is to look at the depth, and second is to look at the breadth. If you reached a point where you've solved a particular pain point, and if you find this kind of a conflict, you can take a look at the full stack view of that pain point. I mean, if you're solving at the application level, can you go deeper and look at the underlying LLMs? Can you go deeper and look at this specific hardware with this specific GPU can solve that better? That's a way to go vertically deep into the pain point. The other way is to go horizontal. If you solve that pain point for a segment of the customer, now that you build the depth, can you solve an industry-specific use case which the LLMs might not focus on, right? If you solve something in the healthcare space and you see some evolution has come through, maybe you can solve it for elderly care. Maybe you can solve it for another niche use case, because the LLMs will not be able to solve all the industry-wide use cases, but the depth that you built in your technology, can it be applied to a broad industry use case is how I look at it.
Sorry, Minal. Zaribai shot me down. He's like, no more questions. You can always just know that you can always go back and ask people here. We will be after the Isha, inshallah, so you can always ask any of the panelists here for further questions. Without further ado, why don't we take like a quick second to appreciate, just a round of applause for taking those questions for a good 1.5 hours. Well done. Brother Khurshid, please, you're on the stage now. Thank you.
Assalamu alaikum. MashaAllah, very engaging session, and thanks to all the panel members and all the participants. I'll take a couple of minutes to make a quick announcement. So we are planning to organize a hackathon in the next month. Basically, we are still working on the details, and the details regarding like the prizes, the categories, the winners, etc. Will be communicated over a newsletter, and also other forms of communication like emails, etc. We'll have a registration form which will be again made available online. The link will be sent over email or newsletter. So the logistics are December 21 we'll be having another session where we'll basically talk about more details regarding the hackathon, how it will work, etc. And then we'll invite people to register also on that day along with the online registration form. And people will get the participants will get 1 month to actually build their idea. Once they register, they'll get a month to build their idea. And then next year, once we come back in Jan, we'll have another session where basically people will be submitting their idea, and then there'll be judges evaluating the ideas, announcing winners, etc. So we request everyone to basically spread the word within your family, friends, and of course, not just limited to particular ages, but people of all ages are welcome. It's not like only a hackathon is mostly considered like a youth only event, but it is not necessary. I mean, every one of us has a lot of experience in our field, and we encourage everyone to participate. So that's about it. And last but not the least, I'm told we have some snacks outside. So please help yourselves. All right. Thank you. Jazakallah.
Assalamu alaikum everyone. Thank you very much for coming, and really appreciate the panelists and the presentation. And with that, alhamdulillah, we are concluding all our events of 2025 with this, inshallah ta'ala. 2025 December hackathon is coming up, requesting everyone to spread the word. Hackathon is going to be an event which it's not coming from this side, but we want the community to come back and give their learning and what the ideas they have. One other thing in the hackathon is we are thinking we should give a theme. It's going to be open, but the theme is MCC being the community service center, and then what we can help to make this community center better. If the ideas can come with that theme, inshallah, you have anything which you want to participate and help MCC thinking that this is a good thing, a good idea, and can benefit the community larger. Use a hackathon as an opportunity, build that, come back. So it's like we are not opening completely. We are giving a theme, but on the theme you can actually have your own idea. The theme is MCC being the community center. What can MCC can do better, and what we can give as a participant from the hackathon to MCC. And once alhamdulillah, this hackathon finishes, we have the amazing panelists who are also part of our AI group. They are going to, inshallah, do the judgment, and based on the winners, inshallah, we have some exciting prizing. We are talking about it, as Khurshid Bhai mentioned. The details are going to come. So just follow us on our newsletters, MCC newsletters. We probably be requesting media team to send another one-off email on AI hackathon pro, inshallah ta'ala. With that, jazakallah khair to everyone, every participant. As we said, there are some snacks outside, so help yourself, and inshallah ta'ala we'll see you next month. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.